So I think we'll go ahead and get started. It's close enough to 5:30. We'll talk for about an hour. If you would like a another bridge fix today, Chris is holding his triangle game at 7 o'clock after the Zooms. So go on over and help him out. He's been attending the RBC with regularity, and we like to help all our directors out. Okay, so I've got a pretty aggressive list of things to talk about today. Hopefully, one or two of them will speak to you. The first thing I want to talk about is just a shout out to this book, Match Points by Kit Woolsey. If you like thinking about bridge in terms of like odds and equity as far as your score goes, he covers so many good topics, and it's all related to the theory of how pairs scoring works. So really good book. I think I've had this book long enough that I bought it at Walden Books in a shopping mall, actually. So it's been on my nightstand for quite some time. Really like the book. Any book that starts with the very first thing in the book is there's a 10% chance that it will rain today. Do you carry an umbrella? That's how the book starts out. So any bridge book like that's good in my book. Okay, so the first question, which made me think about the Match Points book, is this idea of when to eschew playing an 8-card major fit versus versus 3 no trump. So basically the idea is you need a pretty good reason to play 3 no trump when you know you've got an 8-card major fit. However, let's talk about the things that would make us guess that 3 no trump might have the same amount of tricks. Those would be, and this is straight out of Match Points. There's kind of 4 bullet points. The first one being the amount of strength you have between the 2 hands. So something like a combined holding of 29 points versus 26 points. The 29-point hands tend to make no trump a little bit more attractive. Actually, let's go ahead and look at this hand that actually brought up this question. It's kind of a, easy little hand from last night. North open no trump, 15-17. East and West have no business bidding at all in this auction. And the question is South, is it reasonable to bid 3 no trump? Or should you use Stamen and look for the 4-4 spade fit? So the short answer is I'm going to look for the 4-4 spade fit with this, and a lot of people did. I don't think just bidding 3 no trump is like crazy or anything, but let's talk about why we're going to search for a 4-4 spade fit on this one. So the first thing is I talked about is strength. And this hand actually kind of meets that criteria because we have 12 opposite our partner's range of 15-17. So we're looking at a minimum of 27, a maximum of 29. We definitely have, about a queen more than you would want to be comfortable being in a game with. So we've got that satisfied. The second thing is your trump quality. So when you're looking at like small cards in the trump suit, king empty fourth, queen empty fourth, 4 small, something like that. No like 10s and 9s, that kind of thing. Like picture a trump holding of ace empty fourth, opposite king empty fourth. The bad thing about that is that if the trumps break 4-1, which they're going to do a reasonable amount of the time, you've got 2 losers anyway you cut it, right? Whereas if you've got something like ace jack fourth, opposite king 10-9 fourth, now sometimes you can survive the 4-1 jerk for only 1 loser, right? But if you don't have any intermediates, it's just 2 losers right off the top if you run into a 4-1 break. So you want to have good interiors. Here we have a pretty good spade suit, right? We've got ace king 9. So the quality of our spade suit is going to be one in the column of let's search for a trump fit, okay? The other things are, think about your holdings in your 4-card suits and in your 2-card suits. Because often for a 4-4 to be right, well, always for a 4-4 to be right, we're going to need to create an extra trick from trumping, right? So if we've got something like this ace-x of hearts here, this is the kind of side suit holding that makes us want to play a trump fit, or a trump suit rather than no trump, because you can picture something like, you know, the actual holding that partner's got, three small. Or if partner has king third, you're definitely creating an extra trick in your hand by roughing the third round of the suit. Compare that with something like queen jack doubleton. Okay, now there's less of a reason that we would need to be roughing that suit. Like picture partner with king third this time. There's no need for a trump suit as far as that suit goes, because you have two tricks and no trump or in a suit combination, basically because you don't need to rough the third round when you're looking at queen jack tight, say, and your partner has king third. So I would look at my holdings and my doubletons, and similarly in my 4-card suits. So here, like, we have four dead clubs, and it's kind of the same reasoning except flipped around. Like pretend partner has ace and a club. Now we want to be disposing of our small clubs by roughing them in partner's hand. Okay, we don't have something like, if I had something like queen jack 9 fourth of clubs, that would be the kind of side suit that would tend to make me shy away from potentially playing spades and maybe just play no trump because it's the same tricks. Okay, so always be thinking about what's going to happen on the second or third round of the suit. Anyway, all in all, the south hand here I think is definitely a Stayman bid. There's enough reasons to want to go searching for spades. And if you do bid Stayman here, like obviously North's going to bid 2 spades, and you're just going to be in 4 spades. And it looks to me like that's the winner on these hands. If they lead a heart, for instance, we have 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, a heart, and 4 spades. Sounds like 9. There would be 10 if the diamond hook works, but it doesn't. In spades, and this is actually a hand we're going to play later on for a different point. In spades, if you play it right, you're actually going to make 5. Okay, you're going to make 650 on the deal. Anyway, that's a little bit on why you would sniff out playing 3 no trump versus an 8-card major fit. Your 4 things are the overall strength of the 2 hands, the quality of the trump suit intermediates, and look at your side suits and ask yourself, like, do I have queens and jacks in these suits, or is it the type of suit where I can predict that we're going to need to rough to create extra tricks? Okay, so that's that one. Let's go to tonight's PowerPoint presentation. I actually have PowerPoint on my computer now. It's not just tearing out sheets of loose leaf notebook paper and doing it that way. Okay, so let's pull up these deals that I have prepared. You know what? This is going to take just a second. All right, this is board 18 from last night. Again, it's kind of just like if we were playing Swiss teams or a knockout, this hand has basically nothing to it because you're always going to make the game. And if there's one thing I hope I've been preaching at you guys, it's that when you play pair scoring, you can't be satisfied with that type of thinking because there's so much to be gained by getting over tricks. So let's go through an auction quickly. Just 1 no trump by East. Pass, and West just bids 3 no trump, right? Easy little auction. And I think what usually happened was South just let a 4th best heart. That looks totally normal. So let's count our tricks. We have 1 spade. We have 5 clubs, so we're up to 6. And we have 2 diamonds for 8. And the heart lead has given us a 9th trick, right? And a 10th trick if we win this one in our hand and we lead one up towards the queen. Okay, so if this were team scoring, this hand is super easy. Like you would just win the heart, take your tricks and score up whatever it is, 400, 430. And you wouldn't do anything like the way you ought to tackle this hand at match points. So here's what happened at my table. Just went 3, 4, 10, king. And I immediately played a heart up to the queen. Now, like, again, at team scoring, this would be suicidal, right? You don't want to just pay off to the 10% chance that South has struck gold with, say, a lead from like 3 small hearts. And then it turns out that your right-hand opponent is actually the one with ace, jack, 10, however many times he needs to set you. I guess he actually needs 5 heart tricks to set you. So it would have had to be a weird lead from like 3-2 doubleton for them to be able to beat you. But at team scoring, like, you would never ever take this chance of leading a heart up towards the queen next. But the deal is, like, you got to be on the lookout for over tricks at pairs scoring, anything that's reasonable. And here it's pretty reasonable that one of a couple of things is happening. Like, the most likely thing is South just has the ace of hearts, and I can lead a heart through his ace towards the queen. And now I'm up to 10 tricks. Okay. Randy Joyce actually played this hand and got greedier than I did, and it was pretty cool what ended up happening. So it's the same exact start, basically. But at trick 2, he actually ducked a spade. And something really cool is going to happen here. So notice that he's not content getting his 10 tricks. He's actually going to go ahead and lose one and set up a squeeze for an 11th trick, and it's actually going to happen on this board. Okay. With a little bit of help, but it was all pretty normal. So what happened here was South led a club next, and that doesn't do anything, right? It's just those are the 5 club tricks that he always has. So he won this and led a heart, and it turns out that South actually needs to duck this one to hold the contract to making 10 tricks. But South, pretty naturally looking, just won the ace. And now I want you to watch what's going to happen here. We're up to 2 tricks already in the bank. We've got the ace of spades is 3. The queen of hearts is 4. We have 4 more club tricks for 8. And we have the ace king of diamonds for 10. And the opponents have got 2. We have 10, they have 2. Whenever those 2 inventories add to 12, alarm bells ought to be going off in your head. Like, potential squeeze here, potential squeeze. All the tricks except for 1 are accounted for. If I can catch somebody having too much stuff to guard, I'm going to come to an extra trick. And like, on some of this stuff, you don't even have to worry about the mechanics of what's going on. I mean, just look at what happens here. I think South just got out of club. If you look at the hand right now, North is the only defender who guards spades and diamonds, right? South only has 2 diamonds, so he can't guard the 10 of diamonds. South only has 1 spade, so he can't guard the 10 of spades. And when we run all these club winners, North's just going to get ground up. Like, look, watch what happens. So we can pitch 1 diamond comfortably. And we can pitch another diamond comfortably. And we go ahead and go out to the ace of spades. No, we cash the 10 of clubs. We can pitch a heart. That's not doing us any good. We can pitch a spade. That's not doing us any good. And the hearts for the defense just aren't any good, right? Look what happens on the queen of hearts. North's toast. Okay, he can pitch a spade and make the 10 good, or he can pitch a diamond, and now when we play ace king of diamonds, the jack and the queen are going to fall, and the 10's going to be good. Okay, and you don't have to worry about what's going on. It's just a matter of ducking tricks until you've got that count. Our tricks plus their tricks equals 12, and then you just sort of shrug, right, and run your tricks and see if anything cool happens. Okay, all he's got to keep track of here is the queen of spades, right? The first trick went, well, he's got to keep track of the king, queen, jack of spades. Just take 1 suit, okay? The jack's already been gone. So as we're running our winners, the only thing you're watching for is the king, queen of spades. And let's say he pitches a diamond here. Okay, and we can go ahead and pitch the spade. That's no good. If he doesn't see the king and the queen of spades fall on this trick, and he doesn't. Now it's just, and try to run the diamonds. And if you caught one person guarding the spades and the diamonds, which you get lucky enough to do here, you'll take 11 tricks. Anyway, onto the PowerPoint slide. And I hope I can figure out how to share this. Okay. Share, new share. Okay, here's the match points on this exact deal. We have 4 significant slices of pie. The blue slice, which is the slice you eat on your first date with somebody, while you're still trying to convince them that you're not a pig. That's the slice of the pie we get for going plus on the deal. So let's just pretend for whatever reason we misclicked and the auction went 1 no, pass, pass, pass. We got 150 or 180 or something like that. That's worth the blue slice. It's like 7% or something. So there's some tiny little percent, some tiny little piece of the pie that you get just for going plus on this deal. The second piece of the pie, and you'll notice that the next 3 pieces are roughly equivalent. I guess the orange slice is a little bit smaller. That's what you get for bidding game and making it. So if you get from just a plus score, that's the blue area, up to 3 no trump making 3, we get that orange slice. Check out the gray slice. Those are the match points you get for making 1 over trick, for making 630 instead of 600. Notice how much bigger that slice is than the slice where you get from 150 to 600. And then you've got the yellow slice. I call that the Randy Joyce slice, right? Where he's not content just getting 10 tricks. He wants more. He wants yellow pie, and he sets up a squeeze and ends up with 97% on the board or something like that. This is how you've got to think about match points. Just making your contract is not sufficient. You've got to be greedy. Amen. All right, that does that one. Let's go to bidding after partner preempts. This was from Tuesday a week ago. I'm going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to go back to sharing BBO. Okay. And if I've done this right, awesome. Okay, this was from Tuesday night a week ago. I guess that June 30th or whatever, from the RBC. Also, these games are common game hands. So if you go to www.thecommongame.com, those are the hands that the RBC plays. If you happen to be playing at a different club or you're in a different state or whatever, these will probably be the same hands everywhere, because most virtual clubs are using common game hands, I believe. So let's talk about the auction that happened at most tables. West opened to preempt 2 diamonds. That looks very normal. North passed. Now, at an alarming number of tables, what happened next was East bid 3 clubs, and the auction proceeded pass, pass, pass. Now, let me throw in a strong urging that you play new suits over your partner's preempt are forcing. Okay, that there's nothing wrong with that. I guess it's a little bit old-fashioned, but it definitely drives home the idea that there's only one preemptor in an auction. Well, maybe there's a preemptor and then his partner jacks the preempt up further, but there's only one side that preempts. In other words, if my partner preempts, I don't over preempt. I don't bid 2 spades to say, no, I've got a weak 2 in spades. Okay, it's much more useful to use that as a tool to get to the right game when you've got a really good hand. And the same thing applies for a 2 heart call or a 3 club call. Unless you've got some special agreement with partner, 3 clubs here should be forcing. And if it's not forcing, I'm here to tell you that actually needs to be alerted. Your opponents are entitled to know that this is not forcing, because standard is new suits after partners preempts are forcing. Okay, so there's no I realize we're not in person anymore, but you can't sigh and look at the sky and then bid 3 clubs and now partner knows it's not forcing. None of that nonsense, okay? You just decide whether you want to bid or not, and if you take a call of a new suit, it is forcing. I didn't realize this was a problem. I only bring it up because I saw table after table after table went 2 diamonds pass, 3 clubs, all pass. Here's an auction we could have on this. And for the record, I think that the East hand is enough to want to make forcing bids here. Here's an auction you could have. 3 clubs forcing. What could West do here? West has actually got like a pretty good preempt. You know, it's fairly close to an opening bid as far as first seat not vulnerable versus vulnerable preempts go. I would not be ashamed of it. In fact, I'll give you one little extra piece of context. It was actually John Kirby who opened 2 diamonds on this hand. So if you're John Kirby and you've got this monster after you open 2 diamonds, like I'd probably be bidding a slam or something. Anyway, what's the most useful thing that West can do? What's the most likely target that partner's shooting at? 3 no trump, right? We're still below 3 no trump. Nobody's announced possession of a major suit. I would think that the most useful piece of information I could give my partner is to show him, like, first of all, I've got a hand that I'm not ashamed of. If I had any hand that I was ashamed of, I'd just be rebidding 3 diamonds. What if I just bid 3 spades to say, like, hey, I realize at this point, no trump is probably the destination we're most often seeking. I've got a stopper there. I got a card there. What do you want to do with that? And then East could bid 4 hearts. Okay, this is natural. The reason that we bid clubs first, because we're 6-5, right? And if West reasons similarly, just take him back to 5 clubs. I guess it might be reasonable to pass 4 hearts and play the 5-2 fit there as well. But that on the screen is an example of the kind of auction you could have here. If we significantly reduce the strength of East's hand, like say we take out the ace of hearts even, the idea when partner bids a suit that you don't like and you've got, you know, just some random 13 or 14 points and you got a void in their suit, pass is your call. Don't dig the hole deeper. Only Jesus saves, yada, yada, yada. Okay. When we bid new suits after partners preempts, natural, forcing, and it's got to be a pretty darn good hand, right? Because partners already said, basically in English, my hand sort of only works if diamonds are trump. Okay, so you need to proceed with caution. When you bid a new suit, it shows a real hand, and East has a real hand here. All right, so that's talk about bidding after partner preempts. Let's go to a couple of other squeezes. So we already saw Randy pull one off on board 18. Let's go to this deal. There's something in the bidding to talk about here also. Okay, this hand was sent in by loyal listener John Gripman, who, as it turns out, gets to be the hero in this hand too. Funny how that works out. Let's talk about the auction that happened first. This is from last Thursday night, July 2nd. So it went 1 spade by West. John was sitting in the south chair. I guess pass by North. I actually like a takeout double better, right? You've got something resembling an opening hand. You're short in their suit. You have support for the other suits. I prefer double, but pass is what happened, and that's not, you know, out of bounds. It went pass by East. John balanced with 2 clubs. I think that's pretty reasonable. And it went 2 spades by West. That looks right. I might be a slightly more careful with this bid if I were vulnerable, but here, like, this is it's a pretty good hand for playing spades. You know, even if your partner's completely broke and you're not vulnerable, so there's not that threat that they unleash like an aggressive penalty double and nip you 1 trick and you write down -200, and North-South didn't have any semblance of like game values. That would kind of be a disaster. But here, white, and with this good of a playing hand for spades, I think 2 spades is fine. Next thing that happened was double. by North. And the first part of the question was, what's double? So if I weren't actually looking at the South hand, to start with, I'm not 100% sure what's intended by double, but let's work through it. If I weren't looking at this actual South hand, I would kind of think that this double's penalty. Okay, because as South, I had a chance already to do something like make a two-suited bid or a takeout double of one spade in the balancing seat. So if partner's double here is takeout, that's a little bit weird because I kind of already said my hand's about clubs. Looking at my actual hand, it's tough to think that partner really has a penalty double of two spades because I've got queen fourth of their suit. So I imagine what's going on here is that partner just has a pretty good hand that forgot to make a takeout double on the first round of the auction and doesn't know what to do. Again, just plugs for aggressive, light actions. Look how much easier you make North-South's life if you make a takeout double on the first round with the North hand. It's just get your hand off your chest and you're done with it. Instead, now we're stuck in this situation where over two spades, we don't exactly know what to do, and we end up doubling. And South reasons, okay, she must have some pretty good hand that couldn't act over one spade, and she doesn't want to commit to raising to three clubs or whatever. So as South here, I'd still be kind of tempted to just go ahead and pass with queen fourth of trump and hope we could beat it. It's not like I have some crazy distributional hand. What actually happened was he bid three clubs. That's fine. And that sets the stage for squeeze number 2 of tonight. So here's how the defense went. They kicked off with the ace of spades, good lead. And continued with the king. And we played another spade. And rather than rough with the 4-3 of clubs, which isn't going to do any good, John just shucked a heart off the dummy. And a diamond came back. We played, that is not what happened, excuse me. There's one other trick in here. What happened first was he played a heart. Okay, so he roughed the third round of spades, played a heart. And we ran the queen of clubs to the king. Now a diamond came back. Okay, so let's pause. And by the way, like, you ought to be taking most of your time on a hand at trick 1 to make a plan. But like, I would say that this point right now is kind of a critical juncture also. So you might be pausing at this point just to take restock. If we look at our trick count, North-South has 2, East-West has 4, and North-South has remaining 4 club tricks. That gets us to 6. The King of Hearts gets us to 7, and the Queen of Spades gets us to 8. So we have 8, they have 4, ding, 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 ding. Those numbers add up to 12. Let's run our winners and see if something cool happens. Okay, so let's start running our winners by pulling trump. That would probably be a good idea. West can pitch spades. Those don't do any good anymore. And remember, for the squeeze to work, we've got to run off all of our winners, including our trumps. Just to stress that point, I'm going to catch the Queen of Spades first. And East can throw his diamonds. Those are no good. So we lead a club, and West can pitch that last diamond. And we can pitch the diamonds in the dummy, right? Because the 10 in our own hand serves the same purpose that the Jack and the 9 do in the dummy, right? All we're watching for is the Queen of Diamonds. If we see the Queen of Diamonds, our 10 is good. If we don't see the Queen of Diamonds, we just try to run the heart suit. And that's it. You don't have to bother with anything else. Now notice that it's the last trump here that's going to put the squeeze on West. If we lead one of our red cards at this point, the squeeze doesn't work. We have to play our security blanket, Linus's security blanket. and West is toast. He can't pitch the queen of diamonds. That makes our 10 grow. And he can't pitch the queen of hearts or the jack of hearts because that makes the dummy's 8 grow. All right, you don't need to know what's going on. Just watch for one threat. Once your tricks plus their tricks equal 12, run some winners and see what happens. Remember to get your security blanket on the table. You can't leave one trump in your hand. It won't work if you don't get that last trump on the table. And here's how your squeeze career is going to go. I guarantee it. You're going to come to a position like this, and you're going to be pretty excited, and you're going to know, like, academically, you're going to understand that you need to play your last trump, and you're not going to be able to convince yourself to do it, and it's not going to work. You're probably going to need to make that mistake once, and then I think the second time, you'll be there. It's, just run your winners, including your last trump. All right, let's do one more. There was one this morning that popped up. I was sitting west, and we defended 4 hearts. I think I opened a club. It went a spade. And whatever, they messed around. They got to 4 hearts. So I was on lead against 4 hearts. This is not the actual way the auction went. They farted around for a while. So I decided to lead a low spade. This is just a nasty hand to lead from. I don't want to lead from either of those king jacks. And I figured if I'm leading a spade, like logically, I'm kind of playing partner for the jack or the ace anyway. So in a vacuum, I would lead the king, but I thought here it was right probably to lead low. And it turned out that guess worked well. Partner did have the jack, happy days. He started pulling trump. And I pitched a club here in the first round of trumps because what I need from partner if she's got an entry is actually to play a club because my butt's fixing to get end played over and over and over. But if we can get a club through declare once, we'll probably be in better shape. So it went ace of hearts. And at this point, we returned to spade. And now look at West's problem. Like you got a bunch of bad choices, like even worse than on opening lead. I decided that the safest thing to do was just get out the king of diamonds, right? Because declare could finesse me for that card anyway, and I probably have it on this auction. So I decided that was the least of evils. It worked fine. Played off the ace of diamonds and went ahead and led the queen of diamonds and pitched a club. And now started running trumps. Okay, and she knows that if she's counting, she knows that East has 10/3 of hearts left. So if partner plays a small heart, she can just play the 9. That'll work. And what actually happened here was after she pulled the last 2 trump, and we were kind of running low on time, so I get that. And I certainly don't want to discourage people from claiming because people don't claim enough, and it's a huge time waster. But here, let's pause and do our trick inventory thing again. The scoreboard on the left says home 6, visitors 2. And we have 3 hearts and 1 club for 10. We have 10, they have 2. That's the magic number. It's 12. I should run my winners and see what happens. And West is going to get ground up again. West can't keep it all. West has got to keep the king of spades and the king of clubs, and you can't do it all. We've reached the moment of truth. You just played the previous hand, and you're a weenie and didn't get your last trump on the table. But this time we're going to do it right. We're going to play the 5 of hearts. And West can, like if this were a game of chess, West can take his finger, put it on his king right now, and knock it over. He's toast. You can't keep everything. If he pitches the king of spades, it's obvious what happens. We pitch the 9 of clubs, and the board's up. If he pitches the jack of clubs, we're always pitching the opposite thing of what they pitch. So once he pitches the jack of clubs, this 9 of spades, has done its job. It's exerted pressure on West, and we're done with it now. And now when we lead a low club, West has to play the king, we win the ace, and the queen's good. Once that number of our tricks plus their tricks equals 12, just run your winners, including your last trump. Just run your winners, including your last trump. Count your tricks, count your tricks, count your tricks, count your tricks, count your tricks. All right. Let's do, a quick spiel on, I have soft skills down here. Okay, I think the biggest rant I want to go on here is you are not going to get, and by you, I mean like anybody, including me, and I'm certainly guilty of being lazy about this, just like every other human is. If you just play 50 hands of bridge every day and you're not spending any time thinking about what's going on and doing your bridge master problems, maybe reading your daily email from Barbara Seagram or Larry Cohen or, whatever, or spending some time with the double dummy analysis after a hand or after a session, or spending some time on the phone or email with your partner talking about a couple of the boards where, either you had a misunderstanding or you thought, there was something interesting that you wanted to discuss with them. If you're not doing those things and you're just going through the motions, doing the wrong things, 50 hands a day, that's where your bridge game is going to be stuck for the rest of your bridge career. You've got to slow down and kind of take apart some interesting deals and try to figure out where it is that you're dropping tricks, and try to figure out, with your partner, where it is that your bidding could be improved, what tactically you're lacking. You've really got to get under the hood and try to do that if your goal is honestly to improve. There's nothing wrong with viewing this as just a game, just a social outlet, although that's a little bit of a tougher argument to make at this point, since we're all just sitting in front of our computers playing. If you want to view it that way, there's nothing wrong with that. I guess there are things in my life that I have that sort of attitude about. But assuming that your goal is to get better, some of your practice has got to be deliberate. It can't just be, you're not magically going to become better by playing 18 or 24 boards a day on autopilot. Okay, you got to force yourself out of autopilot. That rant's over. I've suggested the ways you can get better. Take the hands you played and walk through trick by trick. Walk through this double dummy analyzer. When you can't figure out how you could have made 5 on a hand, walk through them, trick by trick. That's the way to get better, is doing that sort of deliberate, focused practice. It's not just playing your B- game on autopilot day in and day out. You'll be stuck at that point forever. Okay, anyway. A couple other soft skill bullet points I have down here. One thing you can do to really improve your game is to come in focused. Now, I know that sounds like life coachy, but I sort of believe in that life coachy stuff. If you come into a game, you've just wolfed down dinner and you're taking care of these chores and you come in feeling anxious, you're not going to have as good results as if you get your tea ready or your beer ready, you take care of going to the bathroom and eating all that stuff, and you're in your chair and take a deep breath, and that's 6:57. Not 7:02, and we're already in the middle of the first auction, and your world is going like this. That's not the way to get good scores. But people do it all the time, and if you chuck board 1, that's 5%. When you have a 58 at the end of the game, you're going to feel sorry you didn't invest that 5 minutes at the beginning just to get yourself in the right frame of mind to play. One more, and this is easier said than done, but as good a player as Bob Hammond, who has been in his life the #1 rated WBF player in the world, said, I think, that the #1 skill is the ability to forget what has happened before. You talk about that like in baseball too. If you give up a home run as a pitcher, one of the biggest skills you can have is that was yesterday. It's crying over spilt milk if I allow that pitch to carry over to the next batter. And the same thing's true with bridge. Like, we're all going to make an insane amount of mistakes in every session we play. That's everybody. Like, obviously, the more skilled you are, the more subtle, I guess, your mistakes are, but there's always mistakes. And if we just crap a hand, you got to put that behind you, or else you're going to have a disaster on the next one. And before you know it, your concentration is shot, and you end up with a 48% game instead of a 58. Okay, again, easier said than done, but what happened on board 1 has no bearing on board 2 unless you let it, and you are in control of that. All right, enough life coach. Let's talk about 4-4 fits versus 5-3 fits. I have down in my notes that it should be 6-10 right now, and by golly, it is. Board 15 from last night is a 4-4 versus 5-3. And again, if you don't know, there actually is a video on the YouTube channel specifically entitled Playing the 4-4 versus the 5-3. The idea is, generally, we want to be playing our 4-4 fit instead of the 5-3 fit. Okay, this is hand 15 from last night. Notice that we have, like, if we can see the cards, which we can reasonably approximate by having an auction, but if we can see the cards, hearts is actually a better contract than spades. Okay? Like, if we play hearts as our trump suit and pretend they break 3-2, which normally they will, and on this deal they do, what you can do is use those 2 spade winners, like, to pitch losers from your hands, right? So if we end up playing hearts, we can shed 2 of the clubs from our hand, and we end up with these tricks. We end up with 4 hearts. This is in hearts. 4 hearts, 5 spades, the ace of diamonds, a diamond ruff, and the ace of clubs. We should be making 6 hearts on this, I believe. Let's see if the double dummy agrees with this. Can I do it all? If they lead a club, yeah, let's just see. Okay, every one of West's cards has a green 2 by it. And all I'm doing here, guys, is going to this ladder thing and telling it to show double dummy. You can do the same thing with your results. Like, if I go to my actual results down here in this window, it's the same options, and then show double dummy, and then you can walk through the tricks step by step to see which cards and which leads lead to how many over tricks or under tricks or whatever. This is a super good tool for that deliberate practice that I was talking about. So if we bid 4 hearts, we can make 6. If we bid 4 spades, it's a little bit tougher because count the tricks in spades. You have 5 spades, but now you only have 4 hearts, right? You have the same amount of spade tricks in either suit or in either trump contract. But when we allow hearts to be the trump suit, we get 5 tricks from hearts instead of 4, right? Because we get to use one hand to pull the trump, that's 4, and we get to use the other hand to ruff a loser. So when we make hearts the trump suit, we get 5 tricks out of the heart suit. When we make spades the trump, we still get the same 5 spade tricks that we would get regardless of whether it's the trump suit. Anyway, lest you think that this layout just happens to go along with my point, I asked Collins today to randomly deal 1,000 east-west cards. Okay, so what he did was plugged in the north hand and plugged in the south hand, and then randomly distributed the other 26 cards between east and west. And maybe we could get fancier and, like, give it an auction and make it fancier than that, but no particular need to get that fancy. Anyway, here's the conclusions. A third of the time, 329 times out of 1,000, there was a difference in the number of tricks that hearts could make versus the number of tricks that spades could take. Okay. On 279 of those 1,000 simulations, hearts played better than spades by 1 trick. And on 50 of the simulations, spades played better. Okay, so if there was a suit that played better as trumps, it was 5.5 times as likely that hearts was going to be the winner. And on almost a third of the deals, hearts played a trick better. If we go back to our PowerPoint presentation and think about the pie, that's the equivalent of 1/3 of the time you get one of those huge chunks of pie that's worth like 1/3 of the board. So if we can load the dice such that we get a free 33% of the pie on one of our 21 boards, that's 1.5% to your bottom line. That's the difference between first and second very, very often. That's the difference between scratching and not scratching very, very often. 1.5% is a big deal. And here it's just sitting out there waiting for you to take it. So how could we do it on this deal? Let's give you a proposed auction that would be a way to get back to the heart fit, right? Because North is going to open a spade. It's going to go pass, pass. I guess a lot of people preempted 2 diamonds with the West hand. Let's pretend for a second that they didn't, because it will certainly make this discussion more easy to facilitate. Let's say it goes 1 spade past 2 spades. This looks pretty normal. Now, one idea is North. If you check your loser count, we have 1 in spades, 1 in hearts, 2 in clubs is 4, and we have no. I realize we have 3 aces and 2 queens, so technically we've got a -0.5 adjustment, except that we've got the singleton ace of diamonds, so that would be double counting. But as far as our aces and queens go, they cancel out, and we just have the 4 losers. So what good does that do us? Well, that's a strong enough hand that we want to bid game. So one idea would be just to bid 4 spades. And one gain of having an auction like that, like this is the auction that John Rice had. John Rice is a very, very fine player. Anything he did at the bridge table, like I would respect for sure. And this is the auction he had. And if you have this auction, like, not that there's anything wrong with it, one thing that you're gaining is you're not giving the defense any more information about your hand. Like, if we choose to bid 3 hearts here, like let's say we're more scientific, we're just that kind of personality type that always, whoops, I lost it. Damn it. What board was that? It was 15. Okay, just look at the right side of the screen here for this last point. One advantage of just bidding 4 spades with the North hand is you don't give away information. And that certainly could be useful on a lot of deals. Like if you bid 3 hearts here in an effort to get to the 4-4 heart fit, it's not like it's without cost. You are giving the opponent some information, and I don't want to downplay that. But if you want to check on 4-4 hearts, it's pretty easy to do that. Instead of just bidding 4 spades, you can bid 3 hearts with the North hand. All right. And then South can raise to 4, and you play the 4-4 heart fit rather than the 5-3 spade fit. Okay, one more hand on 4-4 versus 5-3. This came from this morning's game. Oh, right. Okay. This has an auction point also. This went 3 passes to North, who opened a spade. And it went pass, 1 no trump by South, pass. And what we've got here is kind of a difficult rebid problem. We don't have enough to force to game. Like we don't have enough to bid 3 hearts or 4 spades or 3 no or something like that. It's a really good hand, but it's not quite enough to force to game. So one idea to invite game would be to bid 3 spades. But something I like a little bit better is rebidding 2 hearts with this hand. And hands like these, I guess, are why you can't just say like, okay, when I'm 6-4, do I bid the 6 and then the 4, or do I open the 6 and then rebid the 6? You got to think about what you're trying to get accomplished. So if I were North here, one thing I'm trying to get accomplished is landing in the right trump suit. In other words, if I choose to rebid 3 spades with this and partner passes and partner puts down, say, a singleton spade, and 5 hearts, that's going to look pretty silly that we're playing our 6-1 spade fit, maybe with 3 trump losers instead of our ace queen fourth of hearts versus king fifth. That would look silly. And really, there's no way for partner to get that heart suit on the table if you just bid 3 spades. So I prefer 2 heart bid, see what partner wants to do with that. On this actual hand, partner would bid at least 3 hearts, and then you get to play the 4-4 heart fit again instead of the 6-2 spade fit. Now, it's true that if you rebid 3 spades on this, partner's certainly going to raise you to 4 spades. Okay, so you're getting to a game one way or the other. But the advantage of taking this auction, rebidding 2 hearts, is you are describing 9 of your cards. Like you're saying, I have at least 5 spades and at least 4 hearts, instead of describing 6 of your cards by rebidding 3 spades. See, you always want to try and give partner as many landing spots, as many options as possible. And the only problem with the 3 spade rebid here is you're putting all your eggs in the spade basket and making it impossible to ever find hearts, when it's quite likely that that could still be the place to play. Okay. So anyway, that's that idea. And again, look at the 2 hands. You want to be playing hearts, right? We have a club loser. We have the entire trump suit. And if we play hearts as trump, we're just going to take a spade finesse, cash the ace, rough the suit good if we still need to, and then the spade suit's good, right? We're going to have to guess very well to have no trump losers if the spade suit is our trump suit. Like, it's possible to do, but it's also possible that you would lose a spade trick, right? Let's say you led the queen and it went king ace 7. You would have to guess on the next round to drop the 10. That's probably not something you're going to do. Versus if the spade suit is a side suit, when you're playing hearts as trump, you can only ever lose 1 spade trick. It's all based on if the king is on your right or not. Okay, so anyway, that's more encouragement to try and find your 4-4 fits rather than your 5-3 or 6-2 fits, even rather than your 5-4 fits. When you have a suit that's got disparate length, like it's not the same number of cards in each hand, the idea is that that suit will provide discards, and that when we play the 4-4 trump fit, either one can be used for pulling, either one can be used for roughing. There's a flexibility there. All right, to our last point, which is combine your chances. This is a theme that you might have heard of before, and it's board 5 from last night. This will be our last hand for tonight's discussion. Let's walk through an auction. Oh, this is the hand from earlier that we talked about, the whether to try for a 4-4 spade fit or not. So it's 1 no trump. Also, if you want to be super nice to your opponents, really you ought to do this. Type in 15 to 17 here in this box that's to the right of the alert button, and then click on your 1 no. Your opponents will be able to see, oh, okay, great, 15 to 17. I mean, if I'm sitting east-west and you don't alert it, I'm going to kind of assume that that's what you're playing. But it's a nice thing to throw in there. It's just like announcing it when we're in person. So guys, 1 no pass. And we already talked about South probably wants to play spades if partner's got 4 of them. So we use our Stamen bid. North bids 2 spades. That's super, partner. Let's play game. And let's talk about how the play should go in this. So looks to me like the really normal lead would be the Queen of Hearts. And let's count our tricks from North's perspective. We have 4 trump tricks. We have the Ace of Hearts for 5. And guys, there's no way you're going to improve unless you count your tricks. There's just none. There isn't. Okay, you've got to do this exercise every single hand. It also informs things like, is this a pull trump hand or not? Okay, so we've got 4 spades. Ace of Hearts is 5. Ace King of Clubs is 7. Ace King of Diamonds is 9. I can trump my losing heart in the dummy for 10, provided that I still have a trump left, and I will, because the trumps break 3-2. Okay, so we're at 10, And there are two candidates for an 11th trick. Those being, we could finesse in diamonds, and that'll win 50% of the time. Or we could see if the clubs are 3-3. If the clubs are 3-3, we're not going to need that diamond finesse anymore, because eventually the 13th club will be in the dummy and our 10 of diamonds will go away on it. So the idea of combining chances is you can have your pie and eat it too here. You can actually do both of these things if you time it right. So let's play ace of hearts. We can certainly go ahead and draw a couple of trump, because even if they break 4-1, we can concede a heart and still have time to ruff a heart. So we're pulling trump. First hurdle overcome. Those are 3-2. That's excellent. I'll just play the jack spades. And we'll go ahead and void ourselves in hearts. Oh, by the way, if you're playing a handout like this, what I just said about your plan is see if the clubs break 3-3. And if they don't, if they do, the hand's over. If they don't, we take the diamond finesse. Don't worry your pretty little head with what the opponents are pitching. Like, unless it's the queen of diamonds, I don't care. Don't sit here and say, what are your discards? You playing Laventhal or Odd? No, nobody, you don't care. If it's not the queen of diamonds, it's all noise. All right. I think a lot of people get caught up worrying too much about what their opponent's discards mean. And like, what the opponent's discards mean never trumps bridge logic. And there's also one other point, like, your opponents don't have to be telling the truth. Like, they may have figured out that their cards are just random and they can't help their partner, so they're just kind of pitching losers. They might not even be signaling exactly. So let's say that they win that and they play another heart. I just messed this up. I think I did. I needed to time this differently. Way to go, Shoal. Is this it right here? Yeah, so I need to leave myself an entry in the dummy is where I messed this hand up. So I, at this point, am back to making 4 with all the people that got 54% for making 4 rather than 93% for making 5. Let's redo this one right quick. This is board 5. We won't go through the auctioning. We'll just play 4 spades. So instead of doing this, let's just duck a heart at trick 1. That'll make our lives easier. And we pull some trump. And we pull the last trump. And we see the 2 of diamonds, and we don't ask them what their discards mean because we don't care. Now's the time that you want to play the ace king of clubs. And a 3rd club. And hey, happy days, they break 3-3. So now when we win the next trick and ruff our heart in the dummy, we can just pitch our 10 of diamonds on the 9 of clubs, and that's making 5. So, I mean, you saw me mess the hand up once, sort of because I was talking, but anyway, it sort of stresses the point. 11 people played 4 spades on this hand, and 3 made 5, and 8 made 4. And the scores that are associated with those, again, if you think about our pie, you get half the pie for bidding the game and making 4. Especially if you have a lot of company of people only making 4. If you make 5, that over trick, that takes your score from 54% to 93%. I mean, look, I'll show it right here. Board 5, other tables. And we look at the score slip. 620 is 53.6%. And look at all the 620s. There's 8 of them. 650, there's only 3 of them, and the score is 92%. 93 minus 54 is 39% difference for making that over trick. 39% divided by, what did we play, 22 boards last night? 39 divided by 22 is like, I don't know, almost 2, 1.8 or something. 1.8% is the difference between scratching and not scratching. It's the difference between second and first. It's the difference between fourth and second. Like on many, many, many nights, it's an over trick that causes you to win the game. It's not bidding some super thin game. It's having a hand like this and taking the time to count your tricks and form a plan and make all the over tricks that you can, because you hear me in your head at this point saying, making your game, like that's an arbitrary accomplishment. What you need to do to get those top scores is to take all the over tricks that are there too. It's pairs scoring. If everybody your way goes plus 650 and you get plus 620, nobody cares that you made a game contract. Your match point score is 0. The same way it would be if you had gotten doubled vulnerable and gone down 8. It feels a whole lot more embarrassing, but it's the same score that 620 is if everybody else is making 650. Okay, so we bumped up against 630 here. That's an hour. Another reminder that Chris has a game, Triangle Bridge Club has a game at 7 o'clock. Grab a partner, a victim, and head on over to that game if you're so inclined. Things we talked about tonight, playing 3 no trump versus 4 of a major. The sheer magnitude of the importance of over tricks at match points. What to do after partner preempts. A reminder that you have to make your practice deliberate to get yourself out of bad habits and to get yourself to that next plateau. Think about like in your physical workout. If you just do the same thing that you do all the time, like it doesn't do you any good if you're not pushing yourself. You've got to try new things. You got to try things that are at the periphery of what you're comfortable with to make you grow and improve. We talked about 4 forfeits. Generally, we want to be playing those instead of our 5-3 fit if we have a choice. And then finally, there was the concept of combining chances. We had a deal where either the clubs could break 3-3 or the diamond finesse could be on. And sometimes you can work out, hey, I can actually get 2 bites the cherry by testing the clubs first. If those work, great, the hand's over. If they don't work, I still have time to fall back on the diamond finesse. And I went through the boards. Like I said, 8 people only made 4. It was just diamond finesse over and over and over. And the only place that that's coming from, I'm convinced, is people aren't counting their tricks. They're seeing a finesse and they're taking a finesse, and counting tricks, I guess, is too boring because they don't want that 39% piece of pie on the board. They don't want to win the game with a 62%. They want to come in second with 60.7 or whatever it is, because you know what? They can't be bothered to count tricks because that's beneath them. That's the way I feel about why people aren't counting their tricks. Anyway, that's all I got. Tomorrow night, there are 2 games, 0 to 100. Reminder that if you are in that crowd or know people in that crowd, please promote the heck out of this game. We need that game to grow and feed eventually our open game and just build a real nice, strong, supportive bridge community here. And then obviously there's an open game that starts, I think, 5 minutes after that. So we'll do that and gather up some more funny stuff to talk about. We'll play again next Tuesday and then be back here at 5:30 next Wednesday. Hope you guys got something good out of this. I will chop it up a little bit and throw it onto the YouTube sometime later this evening. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and the rest of your week, and I will see you soon. Later.